video, I am going to show you how we can use the linear regression methods for forecasting. So for this example, I am going to use the two temperature data sets with time series temperature data set. For an example, in this particular data set, you have a column date in one column and two separate temperature calculations from two different methods in other two columns. So usually you may already know that we are conducting linear regression to model the relationship between the dependent variable and the independent variable. However, in this case, for the demonstration purpose only, I am going to use two global temperature data sets for the given month. So if you are conducting this example for a real world data set, you can use something as how the income and consumption of people changes over time and model and make prediction the consumption of the people based on the income level likewise. So for this example, I have created the time series object with dates starting from 2000 to 2010, which is a monthly data set. So if you want to create or the model regression to a particular data set, you have to call the tslm function. So since I have already created the time series variable, I'm going to call the tslm function to fit the linear regression model to our data set. So I'm going to predict and I'm going to use the dependent variable as the temperature data set from GCAG and the independent variable from GI. So if you look at the data set, so you can see here you have date and GCAG temperature and the GIS temperature. So the original data set has data starting from 1982 all the way to 2016. However, for this example, I am going to use the data set from the 2000 to 2010 only. So then you have to call the tslm function like I mentioned before, and then specify the independent variable and the independent variable. Then you have to provide the data frame or the data set. In this case, it is tstemp full. So after you've done that, you have finished the modeling the linear regression algorithm, and you can check the summary of the linear regression fitting. So in the tslm function output, you can find the residuals, coefficients likewise, and also the p-value, whether it is statistically significant, standard errors, like many information related to the modeling parameters. So after that, I'm going to check whether how the GCAG temperature value changes with the increase or decrease of GIS temp. For example, I'm going to specify if the GIS temp increase or decrease by 1%, how the TS linear or the GCAG changes. So for that, we can call the forecast function and specify the data set, and then as the new data frame, we can specify the variation of temperature. So in here I have included our data set and then created the new data frame which new data frame, which is the GIS temp variable change from -1 to +1, which is a percentage value. So if you plot this, you can give a percentage or the label for the X and Y axis. So now if you look at this graph, you can find if the GIS temp value decrease by 1%, you will get a change in GCAG up to this level. And also on the other hand, if you increase the GIS temp by 1%, it will reach the GCAG value around this region. So in this way, you can forecast how the other variable changes based on the changes in the independent variable. So in addition to that, we can use this method or the tslm methods to forecast how the variable change over the course of the period. So let's see how we can predict a value in 24 hours or the 24 periods into the future. So for this, I'm going to create another variable. However, for this example, I'm going to use only the second column of the time series object. So we can call the tslm function like before. So before that, I'm going to create a new variable and call the tslm function. So as usual, I'm going to give the time series object and specify the trend. So then we can call the forecast function. And provide this fit predict variable and specify the h as 24. So we know that we have used the frequency as 12. Since we are predicting for 2 years, we will specify 2 times 12, which is 24. So let's plot and see how the forecast will visualize. So by looking at this, you can see how the linear regression model the future GCAG value based on our parameters. So in this way, we can use the linear regression model to predict as well as forecast future values.